Okay, we're ready. We have the iced coffee from Starbucks, we have the hair extensions, we have the sweatshirt and sweatpants, we have it all. Let's get started. I did a little Q&A on my stories asking you guys what videos you're interested in seeing, and it was basically like how I edit my photos or how to curate a strong feed. And so most of you guys went with how to curate a feed, which I thought was really interesting question because it's something that I know I've struggled with for years. I think a lot of bloggers struggle with it. I will tell you the secret. Most bloggers, even the most successful ones, probably hate their feeds. I'm serious. I feel like as somebody who's been doing it for the past like 2 or 3 years professionally, most of the time I'm pretty unhappy with my feed. I think it could be better. I'm comparing it to other girls' feeds. And so if you're stuck in that rut, I just need you to know it's completely normal and it's okay. And I'm gonna give you a couple tips that always help me to kind of get to a stronger place with my feed. So we're gonna be covering 5 main topics today, starting with number 1, your vision board, your style, Pinterest. I always have the most successful shoot days when I am pinning a bunch of images that are giving me inspiration. If you see a certain vibe or aesthetic that you're looking for, I would type in on Pinterest, literally anything you type in on Pinterest followed by the word aesthetic. So if you're going for like street style, type in street style aesthetic. If you're going for a color palette, I literally will type in like hot pink aesthetic or lime green aesthetic. And then you can click on a photo that inspires you on Pinterest, and then below that photo will be a bunch of similar photos to the photo that you like. And that will kind of help you to get more specific in your Pinterest search. I'll always create a board. Usually every year I'll start a new board. I feel like trends come and go so quickly on Instagram and we always want to keep up with stuff. Styles and our tastes change so much throughout the year that I think it's a good idea to just refresh and maybe start a monthly Pinterest board. You'll get an idea of where you want to see your feed. I'm so visual that I'll have these ideas and I'll be like, I think I know what I want my feed to look like, but I need to go and pin images on Pinterest, find the images that speak out to me, and then once I see it all in a collage, I'm like, okay, so I want neutral backgrounds, or I want to be wearing a lot of this clothing item, or this is the trend that's speaking to me. It helps you streamline your vision. Think of it as like you have a bunch of thoughts in your brain and you just need a journal and write it all down, and then all of a sudden your feelings make sense. That's kind of how the feed works too. And you can also do this just by saving images that you love on Instagram. I always save fellow bloggers' images because I get inspiration all the time from some of my favorite bloggers, whether I've met them or not. I just look on my saved and I'm like, oh yeah, no, she nailed it with this vibe. I totally want to do something like that. When I first started, I would throw a bunch of clothing items in the car and I would drive around until we found a cute location, and nothing was planned. And while the unplanned spontaneous stuff works sometimes, it definitely does not work if you're trying to have a fully curated feed. So those things will kind of fit in every couple photos, but I definitely suggest fully planning if you want to be successful with the feed. So while I've been in Chicago, I've had to basically start from scratch with all of my locations. And so I first wanted to drive around a little bit with my mom before I started shooting. Because if I'm in my outfit and I'm ready to shoot and we're like chasing a sunset, or the light is going down and it's switching and we're like rushing to find a random location that nobody knows about, it just creates tension for everybody. And so you kind of have to drive around your area if you want to find those like secure spots. I would just text myself and do the send current location. Reusing locations, I've found I used to never do it. Now I do it all the time because I'm like, I can style a completely different outfit and have it be a totally new post to people. And I think that people don't remember exactly where you shot as much as you do. Another thing is peer space. What you might not know is that when you see a lot of girls posing in like these kind of like blank apartment style photos, they're probably shooting in a peer space or in a location that they paid to use for a set number of hours. So for all of you cold weather bloggers, I highly, highly, highly recommend doing peer space. And if you have a couple friends that you can do it with, you guys can all split the cost and shoot a bunch of content there. This leads into number 2, color palette. So okay, it took me a while to understand. If you're a blogger and you're maybe new to it, or you're just starting to get selects and you're picking your items that you want to shoot this month, or you're going shopping and you're at Zara and you're like, I need to get the newest thing, whatever. Now when I choose my selects or when I'm shopping for new items, I keep in mind the colors of the new items, and I don't shop with the same eye that I used to before I started blogging. I will literally choose selects based on how I want my feed to look. So if I'm working with a colorful feed, like in the summer, I never, ever chose any black clothing items because I was like, my entire feed's colorful. That's just not the bright, light summer vibe. And then fall came around and I found myself only selecting black, brown, gray, white, anything neutral, hardly any color. I will say it's easier with a neutral feed. I find that color is a really tough thing to make look cohesive because you are getting really specific. You're choosing one color as opposed to a family of neutrals. I think that when you are introducing color into your feed, have a neutral base and then you can throw in pops of color. If you're wearing like a pink hat with a neutral outfit, or you have a pink bag as like a statement piece, that's a really nice way to kind of cleanly transition from a neutral feed to a little bit of color. You kind of have to plan for it. So you can't just do one photo with one color. That color needs to peek in from other photos, and at least like 2 to 3 other photos surrounding should have a little peek of that color if possible. Number 3. This is really important. I'm still learning this too. Angles and crops. So if you're a blogger, you've probably had the thought, okay, I don't know what to do with myself. I'm just standing here in the same poses and I'm not doing anything different. Yeah, no, totally get it. We kind of get in this rut where we're like, okay, I need a full body and a half body and a detail, and then we're done. And then it's like you look at your feed and it's like, okay, it's just me standing against a wall again, and you want to switch it up. If you want your feed to look very dynamic and like it has depth, I would recommend switching up your crops and switching up your angles. You do definitely want to have different crops across the feed. So you do want a full body image, and then you do want a half body image, and then you do want a detail image, but those don't always have to be you standing against a wall. We definitely want some movement and some still photos. For example, the half body image could maybe be you leaning against a car, and then your full body photo can also be you maybe caught in like action during a street style photo, when it's actually just like totally you planned, waiting for the crosswalk to like let you go and the cars stop, and then your mom is just shooting you and you're just walking aimlessly like, did we get the shot? That's me in Chicago, whatever. So we just want to kind of transition from having some movement in some photos and then maybe having a still photo, and then when you're doing a detail, it doesn't need to be from your lips to like the bottom of your stomach. It can be a detail that's like super zoomed in. You can do just your necklaces, or you can do just your nails against a wall and have that be your detail. Your detail can literally be like a selfie. And then when you do full bodies, also keep in mind, if your outfit is crazy, outrageous, really loud, keep the background simple, because busy photos are gonna be your worst enemy if you're trying to create a cohesive feed. If you're gonna do a busy photo, keep it to 1 to 2 busy photos on a grid of 9. I find that busier backgrounds will kind of help a more basic outfit pop. If I have an outfit that really speaks for itself and is more of like maybe a bright colored shirt or a pattern, then I feel more comfortable shooting against a more plain background, so that also that background doesn't take away the spotlight on whatever cool piece I'm wearing. Also, just switch up your posing. I'm gonna show you a couple photos here of like different poses that you guys can draw inspiration from. And then also open space. Open space. Having space in your photos is so important. I'm gonna use one of my good friend's feeds actually, Knits. She just launched Mind Your Business, which is actually a whole in-depth course on like how to be a blogger. And honestly, there's nobody better that I would recommend learning from, because look at her feed. You'll notice that she actually has a lot of breathing room in her feed. It's very open, it's very light, it's very airy. You wanna give yourself a little bit of extra headroom. You want maybe a plain background if you're gonna do a detail shot, so there's not random graffiti on the side, or there's random railings. If you're leaning against a railing, don't do a detail shot against a railing. If you're doing a mirror selfie, you don't want like a messy room behind you. Make sure you go the extra mile, clean that room, clean that bathroom, make sure that everything is just clean and organized. Number 4, I think this is lighting. Lighting is so important, so important. Different light is also gonna give a totally different vibe to your photos, but overall, if you want a good feed, I highly recommend shooting in good light. Personally, I find that direct sunlight doesn't work for me. It shows my like shadows on my nose and like shadows everywhere, and it's just really hard to edit. Basically what I recommend is open shade, which you can credit Mina Marlena for this. She's amazing and she's like the queen of lighting. If you are say in a parking garage, it's like an enclosed area, and then you have the outdoor sun that's kind of illuminating the parking garage, but the sun isn't in your face because like you're in open shade, if that makes sense. Also, sunset, if that's not obvious on Instagram, I feel like sunsets just like went crazy this summer. It's definitely going to be a little backlit, but that's the whole vibe. It's more about the background and the sunset than you. Also, about 20 minutes before the sunset is the best light because you have that sort of orangey, dreamy glow on your face. You never need to really edit these photos. They speak for themselves. You want it all in a grid of 9 photos. Like, it's not that hard, you know what I mean? I'm just telling you to like do everything all at once, okay? Next thing, filler photos. Okay, so we all hate them. Sometimes. Okay, you're probably like, yeah, but filler photos hurt my engagement. Yeah, filler photos are gonna probably hurt your engagement. There is not a single blogger I know that's like, yeah, my filler photos perform the best. No. It's a feed thing. We do them for the feed. You're probably like, why is this girl posting a photo of her pasta and why is it all of a sudden really aesthetic? And why do I all of a sudden want to eat pasta? Well, I mean, that is an example of a strong filler photo. Don't post your half-eaten disgusting pasta. Post the pasta that looks creamy and fettuccine-y and beautiful with like shaved Parmesan and like basil and whatever. If you have a strong food photo or you have a strong pancake photo like I just posted, it'll probably do a little bit better than like your disgusting half-eaten leftovers from yesterday. If we're gonna do filler photos, we're gonna make them really, really strong. Filler photos are a great way to introduce color if you want to do a colorful feed. Let's say you want to do like a green feed and you're kind of going lime green with this color. I'll literally start thinking, okay, it'd be really cute to maybe get a cute photo of tequila with like a lime on the side. Like, that's literally down to the details how specific we gotta get. Great example, I had a pink jacket that I really wanted to introduce into my feed and I was like, this is gonna be really hard. I'm going from neutral to hot pink. So I literally went to Starbucks and ordered 2 Starbucks pink drinks because I was like, this is gonna be a perfect filler photo to kind of slowly introduce the color pink into my feed and then bam, hit you with the hot pink jacket. Also, it's totally fine if you wanna post fillers from Pinterest. I know bloggers that exclusively post their filler photos from Pinterest because these are ironically the hardest photos to get. But I find that using some apps to kind of make it pop a little more like Dazcam because you can make it look filmy, it doesn't have to be groundbreaking. It just needs to break up the feed enough and break up the images of you so that it looks like your own personal Pinterest board. A good way to stock up on filler photos, take a picture of any and everything you think is randomly beautiful around you throughout the day. I have ended up posting things as fillers that I never even planned on posting. Last but not least, to wrap up this video, feed planners. Do not just post on the grid without planning it. It's really important to see all of your images in a grid of 9 together, and I highly recommend planning at least a week's of content in advance if you really want to commit to the feed. I definitely run out of content quicker than I'd like to, but if I'm being really good and I want to really love my feed, I'll have at least a week's worth of content planned ahead. It also helps with brand deals and partnerships to make sure that you're constantly on top of things and you can give the brand a scheduled date for when your post is going to go live. I know brands really appreciate that. I highly recommend Unum, U-N-U-M. That's what I use. It's completely free and it lets you hide photos if you decide that you want to take a photo out of the grid or you're not sure if it'll fit. It lets you upload as many images as you want. You can mix and match and play around and you can have different grids. So let's say you want a grid for like all of your inspo images and then a separate grid for your Instagram. That's totally possible. You can also link your Instagram to Unum and then it will show which photos you've posted versus which ones are scheduled in the feed. Other photo apps that I've used are Preview. I love that as well. I think it like randomly stopped working with one of my like iPhone updates, but there's nothing wrong with that app. I love it and I know a couple friends that still use that as well, and a couple friends that use Planoly. I have never used Planoly because you have to pay for a subscription, but I do know a bunch of people that prefer it. I've always just found that the free ones work just as well for me. That is pretty much it. If you guys have any specific questions, feel free to comment below or find me on Instagram at Jami Alix. But yeah, I hope this helped. By no means am I a feed expert. After a couple years in the business, I definitely understand a couple of the basics on how to put together a cohesive feed, and maybe you can take my advice better than I do and put together boss-ish feeds. And in that case, please tag me or send me your feeds or anything if you end up doing these tricks. And I love you all, and I am just proud of myself for like finally uploading this video. Okay, love you, bye!